How do you want to be remembered? And I think that far too often that we lose sight that, that's a reality. And like we have this opportunity in front of us to live a life a certain way and to, more importantly, bring some level of joy in others along the way. And I think that, when you look at it through that prism, I find to be more fulfilling.
It feels good, man. It feels good, right? Yo, I'm in the light at the end of the tunnel. Paper stacks, yeah, I got them in the bundles. Harry Potter breaking bread with the muggles. They said I would have made.
All right, Ty, you ready?
Always, Kev.
Aftab, you ready?
Let's do it.
All right. Timeout, Tyler. Who the heck are we taking the timeout with today?
Dude, Kev, I think this is my new best friend. I just met him last week. I talked to him for like an hour and 45 minutes. I don't even know what part of the day it was, but it's Aftab Banth, guys. He's the founder of Deep Trail. And he was the previous global head of enterprise security at TikTok. Aftab, I mean that, man. I've been telling a few folks about you, including Kevin, the past week or so. I've never met a person that I talked with for about an hour and a half, just randomly on a day to see how we could help each other. But man, let's kick this off, Aftab. I think I told you on those books behind you, man. If you had one of those books to recommend to me or Kev to read, which one is it back there?
Wow. Sapiens would definitely be. It's a fantastic history of mankind book. It'd be hard to just pick one, but if you're forcing me to pick one, it would be Sapiens.
So it's the beginning of mankind. So how accurate is it, you think?
It's not just the beginning of mankind, but it's the history of mankind. So like, how we've, the history around like, Sapiens and kind of how we became who we are from a scientific perspective. So it's just fantastic. I think the author, Yuval, a gentleman out of Israel, really, one of the most smartest people I've ever read about. So he's fantastic. I enjoyed it. Does a great job. He has a new book out that talks a little bit about AI, but Sapiens would be my choice if I had to pick one.
That down. I know you mentioned you're a girl dad. What's your favorite nail polish color? Did you ever get?
Man, I literally, Sunday, the girls had me. They did my hair, and then they I like what there's this purple that they put sprinkles on, glitter. I'm not gonna lie, if I did rock one, that was nice.
I always laugh at my buddies that are girl dads. They'll have like one nail still painted. I'm like, oh, did you paint your nails this weekend? It's amazing. All right,
so if I was trying to like get it off, it's still kind of there. So I was. But
what type of music, if Tyler and I caught you singing in the shower, what song would we catch you singing?
My goodness. I grew up listening to a lot of hip hop. So Tupac was someone I admired. So there's two sides of him. There was I think the boisterous, very party centric Pac, but I resonated with some of the more deeper lyrics. And then now as I've gotten older, I'm a little more mellow, so like, maybe a Sam Smith. I'm a girl dad, the girls are always playing Taylor Swift, even though I have to admit it. I mean, she's talented. You give credit where credit's due. So Sam Hunt will be someone else. Justin Bieber, the girls like him. So I like some of it.
Aftab, I was just rocking "Can't See Me," I think, by Pac yesterday. It was one of those just get it done ones. But man, I remember when was it Changes came out in like ninth grade? I felt like starting a revolution, man.
Oh, Changes were beautiful. His best, one of his best, the song that I enjoy a lot is one of my favorites. It's called Crazy. Krazy. It was in his Machiavelli album. There was one lyric in particular, like, the first verse is just an acknowledgement of his shortcomings. So he talked a lot about his lyrics and his music. And he said, they say my ghetto instrumental is detrimental to kids. It was really powerful because at the time I was in high school. And the chatter was that his music and hip hop in general was very, gangster rap and such. But they also lost a part of it that I really was inspired by was the thoughtfulness. And so that's the part in that song he's really talking about. And then he finishes that verse saying like, sitting here looking at the stars as smoke. I've come a long way, but still I have so far to go. And like that's been my life creed. Like, it's been something that even today, I think anytime that, you can put a profile tagline, I always highlight that because I think it signifies a lot of the way I view life, but just life in general. So yeah, Pac is my guy. And then, he did a lot of poetry. I don't know if you guys read his poem, the rose that grew through the crack of the concrete. And it's a beautiful, like, it's pretty lengthy, but he's acknowledging that, what roses grows in concrete, so for something to do that, right, just how special that is. So but that's the part that I think music, at least hip hop today, is missing.
Yeah, where there's
Very
actually
much, man. But how fun is it to have that outside
Yeah, 100%.
perspective?
Yeah.
I love how you put it. Acknowledge your shortcomings. And I guess in when we'll get into the leadership and life and kind of that journey, because I love that quote. You come a long way, but it's accepting who you are within that moment, despite your shortcomings and your shortfalls, and being able to fully recognize who you are within this moment and know that you need to make improvements, but you still love and accept the person that you are.
No, 100%. And the other part, and I use it even on like my all hands, I've come a long way. A lot of it, what it's saying is I'm not a finished product, and nor is anyone here, right? Like people will get enamored with, hey, you're in this leadership role, or you're my boss, or you may have some quote unquote success, but that's just a small piece of it. There's still a lot of your story that needs to be written. And so I attach with it. I'm intimately drawn to it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I think that it just allows for a more fulfilled existence, right? And relationship.
Yeah, because everything, I mean, the idea, and I know most people, especially in like they want to complete something for that fulfillment, right? It's like, I check something off the box and now I'm fulfilled. I can recognize my contribution. And for some of us, I think in the work that we do, it's harder, right? You got more lagging indicators than leading indicators in some of those fields. But knowing that you're not a finished product, that you're constantly evolving and you're going to adapt based off of the season of your life, I think it brings peace, right? It's not like you have to have all the answers within the moment.
Yeah.
You need to have all the answers. That's when I found myself being really exhausted. I needed to know what came next, rather than embracing with the moment that I was in within that specific time.
Yeah, yeah. And the other part of it too, and this is how you don't realize, and I don't know why we do this, but the acknowledgement that I'm learning more from you than you will from me, right? Like, and if I acknowledge I'm not a finished product, and like I'm constantly evolving and learning, but also the next logical thing from that is like your and I interaction, and Tyler, as much as you enjoyed that conversation, I tell you, I probably enjoyed it 10 times as more. There's so much I walked away from, the reflection on it. So that's the other part too that I think influences a lot of my leadership, in terms of when I get the opportunity to influence folks and teach them about areas of the business or things like that. But yeah,
100%.
Mark was revolutionary, man. I love this music. I can't listen to a lot of it around my kids; they're a little young. But when they get older,
yeah, I still go to Bob Marley's lyrics too. Another just poet, that happened to put a tune and a beat to it. And it's like,
100%.
but if you actually listen to those words, it's powerful stuff.
Yeah,
powerful enough to start a revolution, Ty.
There you go.
Yeah, man. And I wonder, do you guys ever feel that you have to be in a certain place, like aligned spiritually, to accept like great music? Have you ever like been in a kind of a weird spot in your life and like the music just doesn't work at all? Like, have you ever, you know what I mean? Like, it's like great song, but I suck right now. But the opposite of it is when I'm like banging Pac Can't See Me around here just like 2 days ago with like that like West Coast like like just getting it, it's just, but I want to stay there, and I think I tell Kev like 330 days out of the year, I think like I don't want this life to end. Like it's just that much fun is what I've been experiencing. It's with human beings. And Aftab, I wanted to ask you, like, what indicators do you think happened the other day for us to talk for an hour and a half, right? Like, I really thought about it. I was like, why did it seem like 10 minutes, but an hour and a half went by? Is it like, I don't want to answer it for you, but is it like the authenticity of people, the people that aren't like wanting things? But I'll let you take from there. But after, what do you think it is?
Yeah, great question. Yeah, interesting. So, like I can just tell you from my experience, and my thought process around this. But I think what you highlighted, I think we talked about this as well. Like, just be authentic, and not necessarily like not. And I'll share this probably in this regard. Like when my daughter was young, right, and even before I have 3 daughters, but like they just innately are drawn to certain things, right? And like I believe human nature is that your whole life. So when you're around someone, or when you come around ideas that just innately touch, I don't want to use the word the soul, but touch something that's deep within you, like you don't want that to go away. And I think that what I've learned is that we've gotten to a place in our society where we've indexed on the wrong things that are not innately important to us, right? Like, like let me give you a perfect example. A lot of times when I go somewhere and people ask me like what I do for a living, I'll do like scientific experiments. I'll tell them like, "Hey man, I'm a janitor, or I'm unemployed," or like just pick random things and like just to see how they react to it. And then and it's fascinating, and it's nothing on them. They're all great people, but what we've done is we've indexed on something that's not innately powerful. Now, I've also in that same regard responded back like I'm a girl dad or something, like, or I don't know, I'm super spiritual, or like I read something that, and then the conversation or how close you become or how drawn people become to you changes. So I think that that's what it is. Like when we have conversations or when we talk about stuff that just naturally like invigorates our soul or our existence, then sure, these conversations go from 5-10 minutes to hours, and it's a blink of an eye, right? Yeah.
And I love what you said. I think we've been identifying ourselves through our careers for so long, right? And without that, who are you? And some people really struggle with that. I mean, some for even to say I'm a girl dad or I'm a boy dad, right? It's like, and I heard this great, so you said social experiment. Tyler and I had fun social experimenting, like I told you, in networking, just not telling them anything and watch how like really broke people. But this great social experiment that I heard about at this leadership summit was, who are you? And you kept asking the question to start to peel back that onion, right? The number of layers that we all put up for safety, right? And ultimately, it's are you more motivated out of love, or are you more motivated out of fear, right? Am I doing this for love, or am I doing this out of love? There's two big questions that we need to be asking ourselves, because it gets you away from the external need for validation from others. Based off of somebody else's opinion then becomes my opinion on myself for that particular day. And I love what you said. It's like we index and label, and I think it's a way to conserve energy because everybody's busy now. But the amount of indexing and the amount of labeling to conserve energy from asking that secondary or tertiary question that we want to ask is kind of amazing to me. And that's where we'll judge others based off the opinions of others, even though we ourselves have never met that individual.
And the thing that I will add to that, Kevin, is like there's nothing wrong with that. Like I don't necessarily think like indexing on your career or what you're building your existence, all that is a wrong thing. But I will share that that there are alternatives, and some of the alternatives that I've come across are a little more fulfilling. Because and Tyler, you and I talked about this, right? Like I look at the last 20 years of my career, like I've been blessed to have a really, enjoyable career up until this point. I don't remember many of the projects we did. Even when I'm on interviews and they say, "Hey, talk about the 4 or 5 really impactful projects," it's always something within the last 36 months, right? Like 10 years ago, I don't remember a project. And then later on, I'm like, "Oh, shoot, I should have mentioned that," or I'll look at my notes. But what? I don't ever forget the people.
Yeah.
Like I can tell you like my first role, the people, and like I can tell you some of the So it was an interesting signal for me. Like, when you
Yeah.
think about your life and the journey, and one day we'll be sitting close to the end of our days. Like, what do you want to remember, and how do you want to be remembered? And
Yeah.
I think that far too often that we lose sight that that's a reality, and like we have this opportunity in front of us to live a life a certain way, and to more importantly, bring some level of joy in others along the way. And I think that when you look at it through that prism, I find to be more fulfilling. Not to
Yeah.
say
And
it's the right answer, but it's
no,
like
that's where that legacy question always like fascinates me, right? What do you want your legacy to be? And I think right now, Colin, I don't want to talk about one of your past employers, but like, is it influence or is it impact, right? And I think we've flipped the script of influence is greater than actual impact, because I can create whatever story that I want. Very few people are asking about the supporting cast, right?
yeah,
Where were the ebbs and flows within that story? Where were the
yeah,
trials? Where were the failures?
right,
But they want the end result, and
yeah,
I think that kind of brings me to consistency. Like before we got on, we were talking about, hey, if you never knew darkness, could you actually appreciate a sunset
right,
or sunrise? And I think as humans, this is where my mind sometimes will take over, where I'm telling myself that I want every day to almost be the same, right? To be
yeah,
consistent, to seek that homeostasis where there are no surprises, right? I think one of my greatest fears was unpredictability for a long time,
yeah,
right?
well, for sure,
That I had convinced myself in my own mind that I couldn't handle it, the unknown. Then you spend so much time trying to figure out, well, what could happen versus what is happening, and pull you out of that totally present moment. But I love what you said, like everything, right? In order to embrace and know what you do have to say, I am blessed or I am grateful, it does require that yin and yang.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, it's intuitive to us, right? Like, I was, we were just talking about this, like how beautiful is a sunset if you've never seen the sunrise? Like, it's not to say you can't appreciate it, but like I think you'll have a more intimate understanding of it,
Mhm.
right? Like, I had a friend who saw his mother pass away, and like, it was a really tragic event, and she passed away from cancer. But it was such a beautiful moment for me to like live it through his experience, because he's someone I care about, and like not obviously you never want a friend go through something as challenging as that, but it was just beautiful, and I felt so blessed to just be there for him, and like
Mhm.
see some of the challenging times, because you know what, get off the phone with him, look at my kids, look around, and like, wow, um,
Mhm.
days can be darker.
Yeah,
And so no, it's important. And like, look, these are realities of life, but there's also lessons that we can take from them. And like,
big time.
how do we let that influence us as humans, or like as people and as leaders? It's important.
Yeah,
And I think that these are the most important lessons that you can bring back to you in the office and when you're inspiring folks, right? It
yeah.
resonates. It truly does.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
I think that it takes sometimes going through that experience, you don't know the lesson that you're meant to learn within that moment,
Yeah.
right? And then
Uh,
you look to blame, right, or play a victim, right, within that moment. But all of a sudden, 3 months, 6 months later, you're like, that's what I was meant to learn from
yeah.
that. That led to this, which led
Yeah.
to this. And
Yeah.
obviously, it never happens the way that you think it should or would
Correct.
happen in your own mind. So
Correct.
I love what you said.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%. Yeah. And like, the more you bring this up, the more you talk about it, the more it becomes your existence.
Mhm.
Uh, it it's infectious.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times folks from other teams have pulled me aside and said, hey, can I sit and talk with you? And some folks I've never even met outside of a few meetings, and they open up to me about just a number of struggles they're going with, and 9 times out of 10 I can't help them, but
Mhm.
you just are that outlet where you can provide some encouragement or whatever, and they need it, and they won't tell you, but you have to believe that it's some odd place in the universe that it helped.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why I think the essence of hearing versus listening, and listening, you hear, you understand, and you get it, and that's what most people are seeking. It's like, tell me I'm not alone. Tell
Oh, it's
Like,
the
we got you, bro. We got you. We got you.
it's the best though when you've gone through it, right? Have you has ever
Yeah.
happened to y'all? Like if someone like I like nailed this one last week. This lady's kid was having some trouble, and like I
Yeah.
like mapped it out to like the exact milligrams this guy was having trouble with, if you guys know what I
Okay.
mean. And she was like,
Yeah.
"Shit, Tyler." She's like, "You know all about this." And so I was like, oh, I do, it was just, it's just fun when you've been through it. I think like it was hell
Yeah.
going through it for me, some of the things, but just to pay it forward, right, is the coolest part, especially when you've been in the doghouse in life before. I think, kind of earn your battle wounds, not to romanticize over it or anything, but when you've like even in like cyber Aftab, like when you've gone sideways on a project, how keen are you to that failure? Like it's almost like I believe people that have failed before and got out of it, and it's just like the language comes from the chest then. I
Mhm.
think. But like, and my favorite part in life, guys, I'm not trying to go off a tangent, but like, if you can explain yourself, your truth without having to talk is what I'm trying to explain to the
Mhm.
kids. And they're like, well, give me some
Yeah.
examples. I'm like, oh, I got some
Mhm.
examples of some action, and it's just the coolest thing, I think. Like, cause I'll be in
Yeah.
meetings sometimes and in my head, I'm like, I'm about to roast this, guys. Like, I'm about to
Mhm.
like really kick some ass here, but I won't say it, but I'll do it in a way. But after that, I wanted to ask you about your legacy, man. Like you have so much. So real quick, after I've never met someone, and I'll just say it as blunt as I can, that was making probably over $1 million a year, and then they say, "Hey, dude, I'm going out on my own, guys." Like that's kind of cool, Aftab.
Yeah.
And can you kind of like what faith values or like was your wife instrumental? Was your family instrumental in
Mhm.
making a decision like that? Because I don't think I've met anyone like you that just said, you know what, I'm in too good of a spot. I'm about to break it and see
Yeah.
what happens. But can you kind of walk us through what happened? I think you said you were in Norway or somewhere. Um,
Yeah, yeah. So a man is a culmination of his decisions, and so over time, like these decisions have good and bad effect on you, but they always leave an imprint on you, right? And so for me, just some context. Like when I was really my 20s, I started a company, sold it, and then bought some GNC stores, and then ultimately sold those as well. So that innate kind of strong passion to do something was always there. Um, Now, what I didn't anticipate for at that stage of my life was meeting my wife, and so when I met her, like, this is gonna sound super corny, but I'm just being honest. Like, I fell in love with her like really bad, and all I wanted to do is just spend time with her. So I put all that aside. Just every free moment I wanted to be around her. Like I had never met anyone like that. So fast forward, we started, started a family, and then my quote unquote career started to take off. So it's hard to do it when your kids are young. I know the level of sacrifice it takes, and so it's been burning in me for a long time. And about 5 years or so, I've been trying to talk myself out of it because I know what it takes. I know the risk that's associated with it. So, but right around 2019, 2018, I was like, I should probably just give this up. Not like I want to give it, but it's just didn't go away. So, obviously, just sharing that with my wife and she was like, well, it doesn't matter what I say, you're gonna do what you want, kind of thing. So she just said, look, let's find the right time to unleash you. And so in December, she said, hey, if you want to try this, I'll support you. And so I figured, I do a lot of advising for other startups, help a lot of VC friends, like look at companies to invest in. And so I've been part of that ecosystem for a while. So I assume it would take some time. And then got an opportunity more recently a gentleman that I was kind of advising, building a relationship with, asked me to kind of join as a co-founder. And you know what? Can't fight who you are. And, and the reality of it is that I can sit here and could have done another CISO gig. I could have, continued at my previous role, but you have to be true to who you are. And look, I'm not sitting in the sidelines. I mean, it's at the dugout and not taking in a bat. It's not, I'm not, I'll go up and strike out, which is fine. But, I can live with myself if I just stood there and just took the easy route. Now, look, and my measure of success isn't how much money's in my bank account. Like I tell people all the time, like that's never drove me. My wife makes her happy, but for me, it does not. It's a necessity that I need, but it's not a
Mhm.
driver. And like for me to be able to look back and say, like, you know what, I accomplished things I set out to be. But more importantly, I think that doing this will give me a bigger platform to help others.
Yeah. That's cool.
You still meet more people in this space, help a lot of more folks, quote unquote, reach their dreams. And then, I have a really strong opinion about how to build a company. So, want a company that values the people that work for us. Make it very employee centric. Like that's important. So, well, I know that's a long winded answer, but that's. And then that Norway trip was right before I decided to tender my resignation. We went to Norway. By the way, it's a beautiful place. I recommend it. And so we were in Oslo and sitting for coffee, and my wife and I just, I said, okay, I think it's time. And let's do it. So
That's so cool. But
Yeah.
I love what you said, like can't fight who you are,
Yeah.
right? Versus who you think you should be. And
Fine.
the rest of the world would tell you you're crazy, right? But anybody that's done anything of innovation, it does take a little crazy, right? Just to take that leap. And I'm like you, like I think until I finally was comfortable with writing out what I was actually afraid of, realized that I had run out of excuses as to why I shouldn't do it.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate what you said as the fulfillment, right? Is like, I think we have this belief that because we see these images, whether it's movies or social media, but it's like, oh, money equals happiness because they're always happy in those videos. It must equal happiness. And then once you reach that pinnacle, right? And that's been what you've set out. I was always unfulfilled, right? It's like, it didn't bring me that, but this thing will. And it was always like, okay, what's the next thing?
Yeah.
And that's what I really wanted to ask you, because just like you, like everybody's like, oh, you remember your biggest sale? Do you remember? And I really don't. I really struggle with my grandfather could rattle off every project that he did, and I'm like, I don't even know what I did last week, right? I think that's a blessing and a curse, right? Do you ever find it hard to celebrate some of your accomplishments?
I do. It's a great question, by the way, because I just naturally, my temperament isn't for the quote unquote spotlight to be on me. I find that to be an odd place, to be honest with you, because I always, my wife thinks I'm crazy. I said, my happy place is walking with my friends and accomplishing things along the way, but no one notices us. Like I think that's a really beautiful place to be, because it sets your intentions really clearly, right? And for me, life and my spirituality kind of influences this, and your intentions are the key to life, right? You had said something that maybe I would challenge a little bit, like you said, happiness. Like I don't view life as a spectrum of happiness. I view life in this journey as a function of peace. Right? Like peace with who you are, peace with where you are, and peace with where you're going. And like happiness is just kind of a characteristic along the way. But like if I use happiness as a metric, like I'd probably leave my wife. Like we're not always happy. I'm just being honest, right?
Oh,
So,
definitely.
and I think we've conflated, even like you said, money. Like I've been blessed to have made more than I need, but that doesn't change my quote unquote inner peace, or it doesn't help in that regard. So I do find it odd, to be brutally honest with you. I grew up here in the Bay Area. It's a very I'm born and raised here, and Silicon Valley, and everyone is super hyper focused on doing X, Y, and Z. And I always tell folks, like, sometimes you should just stop and look around, man. Just being here in itself is bad. So I strongly believe in that way. And I think that, you can use other metrics to kind of get you to a place of that inner peace, but I strongly feel that should be your focus.
I love that.
And be okay with the outcome. Like, I have friends who are 20 times more successful than I've been professionally, and that's okay. Like that's their goalpost, not mine. And vice versa. Like other folks look at me like, Aftab, you've done X, Y, and Z. I wish. It's like, no, everyone has their own goalposts.
Yeah.
And we don't necessarily need to conflate and use mine versus yours, etc., because we all want different things out of life. Like I tell my daughters all the time, at the end of the day, what you want out of life is going to be different than everyone else. So just be super clear and at peace with that.
Yeah. And I think I was so confused for so long
Yeah.
to your point. I had the whole copy and paste, right? I
Mhm.
didn't really know what I even wanted. So I would take everybody else's opinions like, oh, that's your definition of success.
Yeah.
That's mine too, and that's where I always say is like you're directionless. You'll end up taking direction from anyone, not really
Yeah.
knowing.
That's for sure.
I think that's like you moving in your subconscious, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm not really sure. And to your point, I think we are happiness. Is that my definition of satisfaction in life? No, because again, if you allow everybody else to have an impact on that happiness,
Yeah.
it's not even yours to begin with.
Yeah. That's a good point.
So I love your piece. And I think the other one that is big for me is hope.
Yeah.
I think when I have hope keeps me positive, but it also able to accept the lumps, right? And then without hope, I mean, then you're discontent. Then you don't believe that there's something better there. And that's what I think is really hard. I think it's hard for people to envision life outside of their norm.
Yeah.
So then they rinse and repeat and get the same results. And I'm reading a great book right now and just talking about like visioning, right? How will you feel, right? Should you achieve that being or that sense of peace? And what does that mean? And what does that bring? And meditation to me is nothing better than quieting the noise. I don't know if you meditate, but I think meditation and prayer are relatively similar. But that's allowed me to slow my mind down to help with that alignment of your mind, body, soul, and spirit. What types of things do you use to ground yourself, Aftab? Like,
Yeah. It's a great question. Great question. Obviously, meditation, I would coin it a little differently, at least for me.
yeah,
Like you won't find me like sitting in, like quote unquote typical meditation. I do find, reflection is probably my most important, aspect in my day. And that's because I think, it's easy to just keep moving, right? And I think but it's hard to just stand still. And I'm not talking about physically, like we can all stand still. I'm talking about mentally. And it's not an easy place to be, but it is very helpful. And for me, in terms of being grounded, like that's where it starts. And I'm super spiritual, so I have I think that also plays a role into it. But just standing still, mentally and physically, and like being ultra reflective, around my actions of others, and like really try to understand, areas that I personally could have improved. And I was talking to a friend one time, and she said, "Well, my car got hit. I parked it, and the car got hit." And she was like really animated, really frustrated and stuff. And I was like, "Well," I gave her a hug. I said, "It'll be fine. Like, it's just a car. Don't worry about it." But I played a little not game with her. I said, "But what, like, what did you take away from this?" And she was like, "Well, this jerk off hit my car and didn't leave, they didn't leave their name, number. So I'm just really, really pissed." And so she was just really down on human nature, but it's a reasonable response. But I just shared with her, like, "Hey, you know what? Like, you could take that approach." And like, I probably would argue that's not the right way to think about it, but you should have done it. Say, what could you have done differently? And like, this is an extreme case. So I'm not advocating but the takeaways for her, like maybe I should have parked somewhere else, right? Or maybe I should have been a little, things that I could have done physically, personally. So now, that's why I share like slowing down and standing still is important, because it's easy to like do this versus like, hey, how and I believe strongly in that.
big time.
And I think that in terms of leadership, it's important, take the bullets for your team. Take the bullets for all the failures that happen across your org. And when something does fall, or ask what role do you specifically play in it? Like the example I gave with the parked car, like, it's not really her fault. Like, you park your car, you think it's gonna be okay, but the takeaway shouldn't be pissed off at someone and leave their quote unquote. And that, again, not unreasonable, but like, it doesn't help you get better, in my opinion. Right.
And what an opportunity it gives you too when something goes
Yeah.
sideways in life. It's
Yeah.
like, dude,
Yeah.
if I react to this like a badass, this might help. Or I could just do the other thing and get all pissed. But and it's
Yeah.
so
But
funny to me, like 48 hours go by and you look back at it if you got pissed at it and you're like, what did I
yeah.
do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, but but Tyler, let me tell you something, man. That's powerful. So, I studied, studied is a strong word, but I was influenced a lot by the civil rights movement, right? Particularly Martin Luther King and, how that played a role in our country's history. And like, I was just so enamored by just the way that, this movement was able to invoke such strong changes. And through my journey of understanding that, I kind of came across Gandhi, and then I read some of his work and, the influence that he had, obviously in a different part of the world, but it was very influential. As a kid, one of the things I walked away with, and I think it's still this day, and I'm going to summarize it and make it into a tabism, because that's kind of my, it's a tabism, but and I think what's helped me like manage my temperament, and particularly what you highlighted in terms of situations that can elevate your temperature and make you react a certain way, is that Gandhi fundamentally, and I'm going to paraphrase it and screw it up, but he basically said, like, you can do anything to me in this world, but there's one thing you can never do. Right. And I always highlight it, and I've shared that with folks, and I always ask them, like, what's the next statement there? And the answer is that you can never make me do it back to you, right? You can beat me, scratch me, et cetera, but you can never make me do. And like, when you have a strong reaction, whether that's, you're angry or whatever, I would argue that's your inability to control your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you're frustrated, like I have 3 young daughters, and like, trust me, on a daily basis, I'm super frustrated. And like, I always have to remind myself is that this is my inability to regulate. This is my inability to have self-control and be not measured, but like be mindful about my reaction and like control that, because that's where my energy should go into. Not because like, you're a leader. I mean, I've been in meetings where my team, anything I say, they'll do. If I'm frustrated, it'll change the dynamic of that room. But those are the most important times for me to be able to control my reaction.
No.
And that's powerful, I think. And sometimes we overlook that, and it's easy. And I tell folks and I've reported to people who are very animated, and I tell them flat out, well, you can fire me, but you have not mastered the art of controlling yourself.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Yelling, screaming, and cussing, and doing this, all that bullshit. It's manifesting in this way, but that's the root of it. So, and I refuse to deal with that nonsense. If I have a boss who ever elevates his voice to me, it's like, look, you can do whatever you want. I'm choosing not to be in these type of environments because it's very petty and childish.
Yeah.
And like, folks can get mad, but and they say, well, I'm super passionate. Yeah, a lot of people are passionate.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
I'm serious.
Yeah,
I'm serious, and we can hold ourselves to a very high standard. And that's what we don't do. I believe strongly in it, and also like, it manifests itself. Right? You set the right culture within the organization, and I think that's the right one. So I know it's a little long way, Tyler, but I wanted to just
But I also see it with my kids. You're elevated, right? All of a sudden, you don't think that energy is transferable, right?
Yeah.
But you can immediately sense it in your kids, who are probably like more in the present than humans. I mean, we're so distracted, to your point, Tyler, that most people would just go on to the next thing, not even think about 48 hours ago.
Yeah.
And I think there is a balance. Aftab and I were talking before the episode. I definitely, there is a trap where you don't want, like, if I could have done this, I should have done that differently, I would have done this. There is a trap if you stay in there. And I think, Ty, some of the times that I've noticed that I'm responding reacting versus responding, is that event, it's not that event that I'm responding to. It's something that I haven't forgiven and forgotten about.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
whoa. And then that's when I start to realize how much more deeper I have to go in that self-reflection, because it's something that actually happened 20 years ago, not 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. And Kev, just to add to that, like, like, what's the goal of a leader, right? I always tell people, like, what's the goal? And people have at the end of the day is to get the most out of your people as you can.
Yeah.
Right. is to believe in them 10 times more than they ever believe in themselves. And so like to do that, right, you have to be quote unquote as strategic, as authentic, and I would argue even keel as possible, because that resonates calm, etc. So yeah, and I believe very passionately about this. I have very little respect and tolerance for folks who elevate themselves and think that in some way, shape, or form, well, I'm a great leader because I
look at all these results. Yeah.
like
it's usually what they hide behind.
No, but Kev, it works in the short term.
Yeah, big time.
It works in the short term, and there's no arguing that, right? You may get some level of success, but you want to build, and like, I don't know. Are you grooming your people just so they can benefit you in that moment or at that role? Or are you grooming your people and supporting them that they can be better in life?
Absolutely.
Right. And like, yeah, sure. Great. You're a great director on my team, but you're still a jerk. Like that to me it's not the reason for leadership. To be brutally honest with you. So folks may disagree, but I feel strongly about that.
And that's where I think the systems within my corporate America experience, right, is that's rarely factored into that promotion, right? They're using the success, and Tyler and I have always joked, like, why do the best sales guys always get promoted to manager when they have zero leadership and management experience? They've been an individual contributor, that's great, but then now you got to get them to motivate other people. They usually struggle. Sometimes that system of record is what the output was versus what the input was. But yeah, short-term success. And then they hold that up as proof, like, hey, being a jerk and micromanaging, like, it works. Look at the proof that I have. Rather than the costs on the other side of the data points that they leave out.
Well, 100%. And like, just one point about that. I've met a lot. I've promoted a lot of folks who are really good ICs who struggle as managers because that transition is not a one-to-one mapping. Like what you do here is not what you need to do here, right? And like that's a direct failure on coaching and mentorship. Like I'm a huge sports fan, and Steve Kerr is like one of my favorite basketball coaches. Like he was a fringe player at best, but he's one of the best coaches of all time. Michael Jordan was one of the best players of all time, basketball, and he struggled as a GM because it's a different skill set. And like ICs who are really strong doesn't always translate to an IC who will be a leader. And we conflate the two because the leader's job isn't what it was now. I mean, the leader's job isn't the same as what he was as an IC. And so that mentorship or that mental shift around what's needed, I argue that folks who struggle with it haven't really made it. Like say my success is now on how I can get my team to elevate. And that's a big anyways, I can go on and on
big
about
time.
it.
Oh, big time.
Yeah, I grew up with farmers and coaches. And anytime I talk to someone like Aftab, I kid you not, the other day after I talked to you, dude, I was like, I'm quitting my job and I'm going to coach college basketball. I told my wife, and she was like, who'd you talk to? I was like, some dude that's got more courage than me, and that's why I like try to make business as like fun as possible, and coaching and mentoring. I can't help it. Like what's your strength? And that's what I've had to do to pay the bills and this stuff, right? But it's always fun to me to move it into your powerhouse inside your chest. Like you keep saying coaches, you named Steve Kerr. Dude, I literally remember seeing Kerr hit that three, and I used to do Aftab. I was a nut, dude. I made like 300 to 500 threes a day from like 8th grade to like senior year. Like I was like that guy. But seeing Kerr coach, man, it's like, that guy's got it. As opposed to like in Michael Jordan, like that guy would have been a freaking tyrant to try to play for. But I love meeting folks that really get me thinking about what I want to really do. Like there's a high percentage that I should probably be chewing some ass on a baseline, in some college arena right now. And it's always been like that for me, but it's always just enlightening to meet folks like you, man, that are doing, and you're doing your own thing now. But I guess what would your one thing be, Aftab, outside of technology that's your like ultimate dream? Cause mine, dude, is like having a whistle in basketball practice at like 5 a.m. and like doing defensive slides with my team at age 40 and maybe punking some of them. Right.
It's funny. It's funny. So So as you get, as you start learning about yourself over time, I think for me, if had you asked that a few years ago, I would have probably said coaching. And I would have probably said like, hey, um, helping kids get better at hoop. But, as I've learned more and like I've been told this probably, 10, 15 times over the last 6 months, um, I'm starting to realize that my superpower, if I had one, would be like mentoring and helping people, and like sharing like the stuff we're talking about. Really like sitting down and like so. Yeah, man. If I wasn't doing what I would probably be doing something in that arena, whether that's like leadership coaching and or like mentorship for aspiring leaders, something along those lines. And it's hard for me to say that, but I've been told like, hey man, like the way you explain things, the way you've kind of broken things down for me it's a very helpful perspective. So I've finally embraced it. So yeah, not sure if there's a job title that fits that, but
girl dad. Yeah.
Yeah, girl, exactly. Chaos, that is my future, right?
Yeah. I think I love what you said. I think we've all gotten a lot of compliments, even when Tyler's saying that at the beginning. For a long time, you're like, what does this person want? They're just saying that they're trying to get something from me, and you don't ultimately believe it because you don't feel like you're worth it, right? You can't even see it in yourself, and that's what Tyler jokes about me telling him that, hey, you got way more potential than what you're doing right now,
Yeah.
And you said that's a great sign of leadership, and I couldn't agree with you more. I've grown more when somebody else tells me, I think you can do this, and all of a sudden that becomes something that was never even on my radar.
100%.
So I think surrounding yourself with good people and is half the battle. Getting that personal board of directors right.
Yeah.
Because if you're with 6 idiots, odds of making it out as the 7th is probably out.
Yeah. But the other thing too of that, Kev, that I find that we don't do as much a job, like telling each other, like
no, definitely,
like we don't do it enough. Like when I was young, and even now I struggle with it. Like, man, like my wife when I met her, she's like, "Do you have best friends?" I'm like, well, "We're guys. Like we don't really have best friends. Like that's my boy or that's my buddy or like, but that's not." And as I going older, I realized just how much like being able to tell people that you love them, like, "Yo, man, I love you, bro." Like I'm saying it from the heart, or someone who meant something to you, and say they're a mentor that you don't have that type of relationship. Just telling them like, because it's one thing to help, it's another thing to tell them. Because I'm one of the things that I'm so it brightens up my year when I do get a phone call or when someone does tell me like, "Yo, man, you did this and it made a huge difference." And like, I'm sure there's times where, that's happened to me and I haven't shared it. So, that's the other part of it too, like being open and being comfortable in your own skin to be able to tell, "Yo, Tyler, that conversation last week was fantastic for me, bro." And like, that's part of it as well. So, being
not waiting till a funeral or a retirement party.
Yeah. Well, there you go, right?
Yeah.
No, 100%. It's this whole cliche, like, well, you never know which had till it's gone. It's like, well, you actually can if you're conscious about it.
Absolutely.
Right. And I think I shared this on a conversation I was having. It's like we could all find many things that we want to improve on and get better, but we also have just as many things that we have to be super thankful for, and people that we be super thankful for, right? And it could be a colleague who brings you coffee one day that you were having a bad day or a bad day, or the neighbor who ended up moving your trash cans in because he or she just was like, those moments are just as powerful, but we don't necessarily value them as much at times. And I think that we should absolutely try to do that. And let me tell you something, like selfishly, it feels good.
Yeah, definitely. Not every story has to start with I, and that's why I love Tyler.
My neighbor puts my trash can up for me, dude. It's the coolest thing of all time.
Yeah.
And I text him every time. I'm like, "Steve, thanks, man."
Tell Steve I said thank you, man. All the way from California.
Matters.
That's a beautiful quality, right?
Holding the door for somebody is a lost art too, and it's amazing to me. Everybody's like, "Well, how long will you hold it for?" I was like, "I don't know. If they're on 20 paces, now I feel bad when they start speeding up because I'm holding it. It's like, no, I'm not holding this, so you speed up. Just holding it to
But it's okay to be the change you want in the world, right?
Exactly.
Even though you look out like it sounds cliche, and we say it, but like let's live it to some extent, right? And like I don't know. It's just odd to me.
Yeah.
And I've said this many times, and I'll continue to say, like, I'm willing to help anyone, and I know that I'm going to get screwed over in the process.
Yeah.
Like, there's been a lot of folks who've taken advantage of my kindness, and I know they're trying. I mean, you're not dumb, like, hey, this person's not necessarily in it with the right intentions. They just need something, and I'm fine with that. And I think that it's okay to live a life like that because, again, it's kind of the point. It really is, and more so than anything, I think that you leave a lasting impression on the folks that you do help. Then hopefully that they can continue and pay it forward, right?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, this has been great. I really appreciate the time and the conversation and opportunity to take some of my notes and reflect on it myself. This has been great.
Oh, thank you. It's been I've gotten more out of it than probably you guys got it, so I appreciate you guys. Like, I mean it.
Yeah, this is how we like to do it, Aftab. We don't, like I said, no script, just kind of see what you're about, share it with the world, and see how we can help you, right? I don't think any of us got to where we were on our own.
No, no one does. No one does.
And to build more champions for us, and it's kind of a tight group that me and Kev have, I think, and just to root each other on it makes me get out of bed a little easier.
No, 100%.
And especially like the urge to see how I can serve, is my favorite. Like, it's like, how can I blow someone's mind today and ask for nothing, and honestly, that's how I live. I'm like, honestly, my quote unquote, it's like, what kind of shit can I get into today? Like outside the business world, and make an impact. And then I'll go back to business because then business seems easy. I'm rolling over here, but it's always fun to meet someone like you.
No, vice versa, man. And like, really appreciate it. And like, just one last thing about that, like we've forgotten that is part of business as well. Like, we're not supposed to be these stoic entities that just are transactionally based. We're humans, and like, let's not forget the human element of all of this. And like, we've I think my dad was a quote unquote he was a union worker. And as a kid, I didn't really understand what that was. And as I've gotten older, you kind of understand what unions are, et cetera. And people have their like political view on them. And I don't necessarily want to highlight that, but more so than anything, a union was just a community that just supported each other at the end of the day, right? Like, and like, we don't have those anymore, but that doesn't mean we still can't have the community to support each other. And like, whether, I'm in this role or that role, it doesn't matter. We all need the same level of support. And why not be able to provide that to each other? I think it's a fantastic way to live. And if you can get some tangential benefits from it, even better, right?
Yeah.
So,
should be a byproduct, not the product.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Yeah, for sure.
Like finding other people that see it similarly, and about you as transactional. I think that's where you find short-term gains for not long-term success. So, but thank you so much for your time. I'm really excited to continue to get to know you after this, and I appreciate you taking an hour with us over the lunchtime.
Yeah, of course, man. Thank you again. Really appreciate it. And as I always say, man, if I could be of any help, man, you guys have my contact. Let me know.